Whatever that life cycle disaster is, it is. That's it. It is. As long as I think we keep in mind that no matter what our problems are, the job has to get done.
Welcome to the O for Food's Sake podcast, where we unwrap the joys and struggles of working in the food industry so you can thrive in what you do best while sustaining a rewarding and fulfilling career or business. We are your hosts, Lucy Wager, food industry consultant,
and Amy Wilkinson, food industry coach. We've worked in the food industry for the last 20 years and we're here to share with you the benefit of our hindsight. Our podcast is for you to find new ways to cope with the daily struggles, but mostly to inspire you to work on what's not working to ultimately improve your career or business long term. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of O for Food's Sake. Today we have a special guest with us. We have Ramona Hazan, who is the founder of Mediterranean dip company, Ramona's. Ramona and I met probably 18 months ago, something like that. We were both judges, weren't we, at Food Manufacturer, and then we kind of got to know each other a little
spirits.
bit. Yes, absolutely. And we've followed each other's journey ever since. So welcome, Ramona.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Hi, Lucy.
And I am now a big Ramona. I mean, I think I had Ramona's dip before, but now it is like a staple in our house. We always have Ramona's hummus in the fridge. So
it is very good hummus.
Before we hit record, I showed Ramona a picture of my daughter eating it last night because she was like, I want some hummus. And I was like, oh, the lady that makes it is on tomorrow.
Was she suitably impressed?
She was. Well, a little bit.
You got to get any credence you can get from kids, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
it's just knowing the hummus lady.
So, hummus lady, hummus queen, Ramona. A lot of people see you as an overnight success, but that's a 20-year overnight success, right?
Isn't it always, though? I always wonder sometimes if we delve behind all the like instant successes and the sudden stardom of brands, is it like, are any of them actually overnight successes?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's less than 20 years, which... I mean, I obviously started when I was 10, it goes without saying.
Well, obviously. So take us back then, 20 years ago, how did you end up making hummus and doing what you're doing now?
I was a computer engineer when I came from South Africa. And so it really was a different career path. And my father is Egyptian, grandparents Turkish. So we used to eat hummus, falafels. It was a very common part of our cuisine at home. And when I moved to this country, I sort of looked at what was on offer and thought, this surely can't be it. I was quite entrepreneurial because my father had food manufacturing companies in South Africa. So I sort of grew up in that industry, you know, where you always heard about costings and food and manufacturing and factories. Yeah. And so I guess when I wanted to start a business, it was not going to be in computers. It was going to be in food. Later on, I think I worked out that I just like feeding people. And so it actually probably was always going to be. So I thought, let me try and get into the kitchen and do some recipes. And the first time I showed them to some of my friends, they were like, let's not give up our day job. Seriously, you've got a good career in computers. This may not be your best plan. And I thought, okay, fair enough. So I went back into the kitchen. I thought, I'll try one more time. Let me just try zhuzh these recipes up a bit. And the next time I took it to the same friends, they devoured it. And in fact, that is still today how I do my new product development. Once I put them in the table full of a table of friends and I watch what they do, if I see them just keep going back to the certain ones and some of them not getting touched, I know which are our new products. And so they ate it with gusto. And I thought, let me give it a try. So I started producing at night while I was working in the day, something you do. And I say producing, it's a big word. It was a very little kitchen, probably the size of the table I'm sitting at the moment. But it was a nighttime thing. And you do that in your 20s when you're invincible and don't need sleep and you can accomplish anything. And so I'd put chickpeas to soak all around my lounge. And then at night, I would boil them. In the morning, I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and make all the hummus, put it straight into some like actual rolling suitcases because it was easier to roll and carry boxes into my Peugeot. On my way to work, I'd go to Soho, London and deliver it. The traffic wardens used to know my red Peugeot and go, I'm not going to ticket you, don't worry. And I go, don't forget, I'm not not a normal car. I'm actually delivering. And I mean, it was very small amounts of product, but that was how it started. And eventually I was brave enough to give up my job, but it took a bit of time. My husband was a saint. Chickpeas everywhere, freezer in the lounge, packaging all down my bedside. It was just crazy.
Yeah. And so I mean, I don't even know where to go from there. How is it? Because you're massive now, right?
It's a well-known brand now.
And when did you So what were the stages? So you started making it at home and you were delivering in your red Peugeot. Like, what was the next step? How did you get to the next step and take that leap?
Fair enough. There was quite a lot of steps, so you can imagine in the 20 years. So what happened after that was when I was brave enough, I did a long time doing it at night, and then a long time, maybe a year or a year and a half. And then I decided to give up my job and take the plunge and do it. But I still stayed at home, but I just manufactured, when I say manufactured, produced all day long. And then I got a little unit not too far away, which I still was the only person making the product, but at least had some space and could also buy a little bit of bigger quantities of raw materials. I didn't have to buy little 2-kilo bags of chickpeas and 500-gram jars of tahini. I could buy 25-kilo bags now, and it was all very, exciting. So I had some bit more space and I could make a bit more, and then started hiring people, and they were producing with me, which helped a lot. But I still did all the deliveries myself. In fact, I remember I used to go to Tesco because they used to have these like boxes from the fruit that they used to just give to the public. And I used to use them as my delivery vehicles. So I used to go and like fill my car up with these boxes. Yeah. But after that, I moved to a slightly bigger unit, which was then a little bit better and a little bit more staff. And it stayed there for a good 10 years. But the brand did grow quite a bit then. No, not the brand, the business, because it was all wholesale at the time. It was food service. There wasn't a retail brand. Mm-hmm. And then along the road, I thought, well, surely I can do this in retail, which was a rookie mistake. But now it's worked out. But at the time, it was like, what?
But Ramona, I was just going to say, this is really fabulous to meet you because you have such a successful brand in retail now. And having a brand in retail myself, I love hearing these stories of success in retail because I wasn't successful in retail eventually.
It's easy not to.
But what I think is brilliant about what you did is that you created a solid foundation for your business in wholesale. Yeah. And people can have this dream of, and because I'd come from a retail background, so all I knew was retail. So that was where I started. It's something that I always say to my clients is don't be starstruck by the retail environment because it's so difficult. Yeah, and the 100%. Wholesale environment, you can, set some really great foundations.
No, it also, you can survive.
Yeah. I was going to say, it gave you the volume you needed to do the other stuff, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, we were whores in the night. We would make anything for anyone. Can you boil some green beans? Can you make us a mango chutney? Sure, we'll make absolutely anything you ask us to make that isn't even hummus. We don't care. Just keep the business alive. But the wholesale, that food service side is stable. It's constant. And it can take years to get onto any retail shelves, even in the convenience sector, never mind the big four. It takes years and you can absolutely go out of business in that time. So at least I had that sort of, the pressure wasn't there. The problem was my first brand was called Me Too Foods, the retail brand, which I look back now and I giggle because I was the youngest of 3 children. And my brothers used to always say, I'm going to go do this, we're going to do this. And I used to go, me too, as the youngest. So it was like quite a personal little name. And I had this little character and, you look back now and you think, oh. And then the hashtag Me Too came out. And it sunk like such a lead balloon, you have no idea. And it took quite a bit of time for us to work out why we weren't getting any listings. Like there was just no love being shown to the brand, even though the hummus was the same as it is now, right? It should have worked. And it had quite bright and quite bold packaging anyway. And eventually we worked out if we don't change this brand, it's just one of those examples where external forces affect the business. And movement and flexibility are imperative. Otherwise, there's another great way to just die.
Yeah.
So you then rebranded as Ramona's.
Yeah. They came to me, the clever marketing people and in my great team came to me and said, we want to use your name for it so that we can link it to a person. It's the opposite of what you have in the market. There's own label and there's lots of it, but there's no person attached to it. There's no heritage. There's no provenance. And this allows us to do it. I mean, thinking back, it made a lot of sense, and they put my face on every single part, which you'll be very surprised to know is a little bit cringe for me. But it worked in that we have created an unbelievable relationship with the consumers. They love to talk to us. They know there's a person. I respond. But having said that, your name is on every single part.
Yeah. When did that rebrand happen?
I want to say about 6 years ago, 6 years ago.
And it's really interesting for me and Lucy, right? Because I don't think I told you this in the pre-call. I told you that we both used to work for Bakkavor, right? But 20 years ago when you started out and couldn't find anything, what category were we working on, Lucy?
Yeah, we were in dips.
And they were the only game in town.
Yeah, but having said that, I think Bakkavor hadn't quite bought Catsaurus at that time.
No, we were trying to get into. Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, but Yeah, yeah.
But I know they didn't know I existed. I can tell you for years, nobody knew I existed. I was
Yeah.
so small.
Crazy,
I could
isn't
have
it?
been,
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even, I didn't even factor in their, in the competition at all.
Yeah. Well, and now you do, right? So how did
Yeah.
you get, because I know, I mean, we both worked in development and dips in those days. And then latterly I worked in like marketing and category management. Like I know how own label dominated it is and how hard it is for brands to get into that sort of space. How did you do it?
I don't know. I mean, I want to say we did something so clever and took something so intelligent, but I will say, for 17 years, the answer was no. It's a lesson in perseverance. I took the same product. They said, we love the product. We love the branding. We love the story. No. And now that I'm a little bit older and wiser, I think they had a shift. There's definitely a shift from the retailers into more branding. I think that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
I think there was also the big thing around the big retailers matching Aldi and Lidl's pricing. And so that created a bit of a void for profitability in their own fridges, which gave way to some more brands coming in. So I guess that was lucky in inverted commas. But I will say that once it did eventually get its chance, it was a very slippery slide. And I think what it has done, it is that vibrant packaging, which means that getting on the shelf is the first problem, right? Getting off the shelf from the consumer is the second problem, and it's the biggest problem because you've got very little time to prove its worth.
Yeah.
And I think now that I'm older, I understand why the retailers said no. We were little old Ramonas. They had no clue whether I could produce enough, whether I was going to go out of business next month, was I going to run out of cash? And that space on that shelf is so, so precious that I don't think they wanted to just give anyone a chance on it. And when they did eventually give it a chance and we gave people tastings and they understood that the quality of the product matched the branding and the size and the story we were giving, then it was a slippery slide. Then everybody started loving it, telling each other about it, and that was it. Then all we needed to do was sit back and watch, which was fabulous. I have to say, after that long, after so many no's, it is very nice to see. It did, but so many don't, and it is so hard to do.
And I guess the thing is, it's a brilliant product. So it's a brilliant product in a category that people already buy into. So people understand hummus, it's a risk so once it's on the shelf in the retailer, it's a risk for the consumer to switch from their beloved
first
brand.
chance. Yeah, the first one is a risk.
Yeah. And then once it catches their eye, they think, oh, it looks interesting. If they give it a go, then they're going to come back for more because it's a great product and it's better than what they're used to. And that's the success, isn't it?
I think that's the bottom line. I think that for me is the absolute bottom line. Because we found out recently that we've got 90% loyalty, which is more than Heinz and Kellogg's. I mean, it's mental, right? I mean, whoever is eating it is not stopping to eat it. That's the brand loyalty. And therefore, it's on us to make very, very sure that they're getting the same thing every single time and that it's a great quality product. And then eventually, any new products have to be the same quality and that to trust that we'll always give them a delicious tasting product. Now, you may not like a certain thing and say, look, that's not my taste, but the quality is there. And that for me is the biggest and most important way of grabbing consumers and keeping them, as long as we put it in their mouths.
And how did you, this is like more of a personal question really, how did you keep going and keep knocking on those doors for 17 years? Like that takes something. What's the thing?
I think it's a little bit of craziness, maybe. I don't know. Like sometimes I think to myself, like, why didn't I just give up? Because I can promise you this, every single day for 20 years, I've thought, stuff it, I'm done. It's just enough, right? It is just enough. And every day you sort of go, okay, I'm going to push one more time. And you just do, because things do go wrong absolutely every single day. And I said to my daughter actually the other day, and she said, I want to start a business. I said, as long as you know that every single day, your plan will not come to fruition. Every single day until you absolutely can't handle it anymore, because it just never stops. And, I do a little bit of mentoring of, people in smaller businesses. And I often say to them the sentence of, in 3 years, we'll have better sales and it'll be better. And I'm like, it's a long road. It's a very, very long road. And you have to be the cheerleader of the whole business, because things go wrong every day and your staff are not as in love with your product as you are. It's your child, but it's not their child.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to be the cheerleader that says, we can do this. We're going to try again. Let's go for another. Let's put another meeting in. We can get this. Don't worry about the no. We'll do this. Let's try this. And so you have to find it in yourself. You have to. And I guess if you're crazy enough to start it, you're probably crazy enough to continue is I guess how it is.
Yeah, but it's very different skills that you have developed developed over time. So I'm hearing like right at the start, obviously there was the skill of making the product and, actually being entrepreneurial to go out there. And even when you were saying, I continue to do the deliveries when other people are, well, that's relationship management, right? You with a salesperson, but you've had to sort of become the CEO and
it's a funny thing, and relinquishing it is quite hard. Sort of even when I was producing it and suddenly you got a bit of staff and they were helping you produce, you almost felt like you had to watch everything because you thought, what are you going to give your child to somebody else? It's like, it's like, and suddenly the people that are on the shop, on the factory floor are the most important people in your life because they are absolutely 100% in charge of the entire company and the entire brand, because if they mess it up, that's it. And it's my name on it. So reputationally, their work affects me. A disproportionate amount of time talking to the factory staff to say, don't forget, we have to put love in this product. Our consumers know if there's no love inside, you have to give it the love it needs. You have to check it. Always keep your eye on the quality. And I'm like ad nauseum. They probably think I'm like, how many times can you say the same thing? But actually the factory manager said to me the other day, they had like an unbelievable batch of hummus. And he called the operative and said, how come this one's like so much better? Because they're not all the same. The chickpeas move around. And he said, we put a little bit of extra love. And I was like, yes.
Oh,
yes, it landed. It's taken 100 years, but it's landed, So, but it is hard. It is hard to sort of stop doing everything and sort of watch it. But I still do all the new product development, which is for me the most important thing. So it doesn't matter who's physically producing it. It's always my recipes. They get made in my kitchen at home, then taken to the factory to bulk up. And that, I believe, is the reason we have a good relationship with our consumers.
Yeah. Lucy's going to love that as a product developer through and through.
Well, and the thing in this world of UPFs and all the noise around that and the bad stuff that we hear about the food industry and everything, I think it's so good to hear those types of conversations happening in a factory. These are products that are being made at scale, and love in the recipe and in the production is important because it is food that we're supplying.
I mean, it's so naff, isn't it? Like, it is absolutely the naffest thing you can say.
Yeah,
but when my dad used to cook for us, he used to often, you'd eat it and go, oh my God, this is delicious. Now, it was probably the butter, let's be honest. But he did say, he used to say, it's a special ingredient. I always add love. And, it gets into your head. And I'm telling you, it's a thing. Because if you care about what you're making and you're watching it and you care about the fact that the person that's receiving it needs to love it, like really love it, it's different. You have a different side.
There's a Spanish book called Like Water for Chocolate. Have you read it? You've got to read it, Ramona. It's exactly this. It's this. My friends, when I was at school, they did it as their part of their Spanish thing. I didn't do Spanish, but we used to watch the film, and it's about this family. This old lady teaches a family to cook, and it's about the emotion that you're feeling when you're cooking, like that's translated into the food. So if you're crying, then it'll taste bitter. But if you're happy, but I think because I can see it when I'm cooking, if I'm happy and things are good and like my energy flows into the food, it is a thing.
It's
I
definitely
totally
a thing.
agree.
And it can be tasted. I've seen it 1,000 times in my own home when I'm cooking for friends. And there's this I don't know, it's an energy. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, as you say, just a little bit harder to get it into a factory, but that is, I guess, my job.
But you've done it. Yeah, I love that.
And that's part of that, instilling the values, isn't it, within the business and what matters to you and what matters to the consumer.
And also relaying that the consumer wants it. Like they really, it's not just any other hummus. It is ours. And when they see it in their fridge, they take it and they eat it with gusto and they get a little hug from us. And that's an important thing. They're not just making some gold dip. It's just, it's more to that. There's more to that than their work is worth more.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick breather here to hear from our fantastic sponsors. They help keep the podcast going, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. As we all know, the food industry never stands still, and it's not getting any easier. More pressure, tighter deadlines, and endless spreadsheets. Sound familiar? Point 74 is the perfect solution for cutting through today's product development challenges, enabling teams to create, cost, comply, and collaborate with ease. Used by 1 in 5 of the UK's top food manufacturers and 2 of the top 5 retailers, it's the software behind the label of your favourite food products, delivering improved quality, margins and processes, all in one seamless system.
Ensuring food safety and quality is crucial. That's why businesses trust Microsearch Laboratories, part of the IFP Labs Group. UCAS accredited Microsearch offers microbiological, nutritional and allergen testing for food, drink and water, delivering fast results and expert support. With over 30 years of experience, trusted by leading manufacturers and retailers, and a commitment to sustainability, Microsearch is your partner in product safety. Visit micro-search.co.uk to learn more.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's dive right back in. So you mentioned that you develop all your own products. I know you've just launched some new products, haven't you? Tell us.
Excited about these. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So we launched a Greek trio, which is our first sort of delve out of hummus into dips. Although over the years we have made wholesale dips, but this is our first retail stint. So the Greek trio's got a Kalamata olive hummus, which is essentially like a tapenade and a hummus made a baby,
nice.
and spiced feta and a tzatziki. So, I mean, I think they're fantastic recipes, and I think they just, and on the lines of people know these products. They're not, I didn't make a truffle, I don't know what. It's just, it's accessible, it's easy, people know it. It's just made, in my opinion, a little bit better, a little bit tastier. And we punch on flavors, which I think the market tends to be very scared to punch on flavors because they have to please everyone, whereas we don't mind if we don't please everyone. If some people just don't like it, that's okay, because other people will love it. So that's the one. The other one is a global selection, which has got our original hummus, a tikka masala hummus, which is amazing, and a Moroccan. And then the third one is a spicy selection, which again is the tikka masala, but a piri-piri hummus and a sriracha hummus. And they're spicy, but delicious. And they're just different. This one, the global and the spicy are in a platter. So it's the first hummus platters that you don't often see them. It's usually like sour, creamy type dips. So this is a first in its kind. And the Greek trio is also another eating occasion where it's 3 little pots of 100 grams. So you sort of have different ways. I'll take one, keep 2, or I'll put all 3 out for a girls' night. It just gives people a little bit of choices. And then we'll also wait and see what comes back and see which ones are requested in a 500 gram pot, because that's going to be interesting.
And have they launched, or when are they? So
last
they're
week,
on shelf, are they?
Tesco's got the Greek trio and the spicy. Sainsbury's has got the Greek trio and the global. I think Ocado's going to do the Greek trio soon as well. So it's getting out there now, And
I'm going to get them on my Tesco delivery next week.
They're worth a taste. I think they, it is quite an interesting thing doing those sorts of things, because you want them to taste like people are familiar. People know sriracha, people know piri-piri, but you want them to sort of eat it and then it resonate with them so that they get the spice, they get the flavoring, but it's not just spicy for no reason. So we're excited about these.
I like the style of the Kalamata olive hummus, I must say.
That was a dark horse. We expected it to be a little bit of a dud. Like we thought some people don't like olives, it's a bit of a risk. We're going to try our luck, and we've had so many good responses to this. I think people who love olives love olives. This is nice. It's a great sort of subtle taste. Very nice.
So Ramona, we've been talking about all the good stuff. We've been talking about, like all this success overnight, 20-year success, but there's got to have been some lows along the way, right? We always like to delve in, we'll just like dig a knife into hearing about stuff.
It's daily. There is people, and especially with social media nowadays, my life looks so easy and glamorous. I'm telling you, I look at it and I think, if I only had the life that is being shown, I would be the happiest person on earth. Like, it never shows you in a hotel room outside Manchester, eating a cold hamburger, while trying to think of another recipe. It's like never shows that part. But I think every business has its up and downs. It really does, constantly. The sales go up, you lose customers. These things happen, and they're devastating and they're challenging. And, I think for me, the biggest thing is just being flexible is so important. And decision making. You have to keep making decisions. People get paralyzed by things that have gone wrong. And you go, I've had people come in and go, oh my God, we got these 3 options. And I go with B. And they go, well, how do you know? And I go, I don't know. I haven't got a magic ball. Somebody has to make a decision. Let's make that decision. If tomorrow that decision is wrong, make another decision. It's okay. Just keep moving. And so I think it's easier to see those challenges as just a ride in a wave than fatal, And I think a lot of things that fail are not fatal. It's okay. Things fail. It's okay. We've had products that were duds. I'll give you an example of one. Was a seaweed hummus. Oh, got so many awards, innovation, great for you, so much in nutrients. Didn't sell a pot. Why? Because who eats some seaweed in hummus? Blech.
Well, I always say it's to get an award is always it's always a nail in the coffin for sales.
Sometimes it is. It is like, oh my God, what are you doing? But and I could picture my grandparents turning over in their grave with that combination. But like seaweed, really, there's a whole region in the Middle East going, what are you doing? But I think it's you do those things, you try them, you get awards, you attempt again. These things are constant. They never, ever end. And I think I get asked a lot, sort of, what one thing changed the trajectory of the business? And I can tell you uncategorically, there is not one single thing that will have changed it. But my message is always, every little thing you do is like a piece of paper. Alone, it means nothing. But you keep doing all those things. At the end, you've got a ream of paper that's strong. You can stand on a ream of paper. You can't stand on one piece of paper. So you can't do one thing and then wait and see what happens. Just keep doing lots and lots and lots of things. All by themselves, they don't mean anything. Together, they're something.
Yeah. That's amazing advice. That's so true.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's important.
And that's why, that's the difference between a 20-year success and something that didn't work, because you have to have that grit to keep going and keep putting the little pieces of paper in, whatever the outcome.
Instead of doing one thing and waiting. And then, I speak to a lot of smaller businesses now that are raising money, and it's all you can't start a business without £1 million. And I'm going, do it with £50 and let's just see if you can sell a pot. Let's see if this is a business, and I think people are waiting for an instant gratification on this, and it doesn't look like that. It's just little wins, lots and lots of little wins along the way, that at the end of it look like you smashed it out the park overnight. You didn't. It was 20 years.
I have the same conversations with people about my business where they're like, oh, well, and you're like, there were a lot of evenings where I've been crying and I've been this, that and the other. And, but you have to just keep going. The difference between success and failure is keeping going. And, lots of other factors.
Another thing I think is being missed quite a bit now is the word profit. There seems to be this whole, we'll become profitable one day. And I'm going, it's very hard to live without profit. That should be your number one focus. Then start with your, saving the planet. And I'm not saying any of these things are not necessary. They are necessary. But first, you have to stay alive. Then start doing initiatives to, reduce plastic and, all these brilliant things. But they're becoming like the initial, the starting point. And I'm going, can somebody just talk about profit? Anybody? Just give me something. I think it's,
at the end of the day, you've got to, you're in business to make profit, but you have to live. You have to pay yourself and all of those things.
I think it gets a little bit overlooked these days. It's all about branding and marketing. And I'm like, go back to basics. Go back to basics.
So, Ramona, you know that I'm a big champion of women in the food industry, and you are a woman in the food industry. And I know you were on a panel at FoodX. Yeah, we missed each other by a day, didn't we? Because me and Lucy were there the next day talking about women in leadership. And I think you had a slightly different stance to the norm. I don't know.
I know.
Would you say that is? So talk to us about your thoughts on being a woman in the food industry.
I've got 2 teenage girls. And so this stuff comes up a lot in my house. And my message is, we are no different, and therefore must stop giving ourselves excuses to be different. And it's not always popular, I appreciate, and I appreciate there are problems, and I'm not suggesting there isn't. But for me, what it's about is doing the job great, arriving prepared, and I have never felt that when I've walked into a boardroom, whether it's full of men or not, that I didn't belong there. There is something that I wish we can attack from teenage years where we are literally limiting ourselves. We have an endemic low self-esteem for whatever reason. And I'm not suggesting that we look in the mirror and go, I'm looking a bit fat today. Whatever, it happens to everyone, including men. But that's not what I'm talking about. It's this thing that says, I don't belong here. And whoever came up with the phrase imposter syndrome, I want to kill them. I'm like, no, why are we doing this to ourselves? I work very hard. My husband works very hard. I have to sacrifice time with my kids, but so does my husband. We are not doing anything different to each other. We just chose careers over watching netball matches. It was a sacrifice the whole family made. But I don't think that we are in a position to be in leadership until we believe we can be in leadership. And that's where I'm falling short of this movement, because I want us to be talking about it, but I also want us to be talking to teenagers and going, stop limiting yourself. You are the one that's limiting yourself. There is nothing you can't do. Literally nothing. Not in the food industry, not in any industry. Why shouldn't you be able to do it? You will have to sacrifice. And I admit, I was the only one in my house that could have the baby. Okay, that's a thing. My husband would have found that quite hard. But other than that nugget, it is on us to maneuver what we want out of our lives and get it. And that is the message I give my kids ad nauseum daily. Nothing is in your way except for you.
Yeah. I think my take on it is that I think you're right. I think a lot of it comes from within. And I think that's part of what I try to do is help women to have more self-belief and better self-esteem so that they can show up and do all of those things. I think there's systemic reasons why we have lower self-esteem to start with. But it is, we all have personal agency. We all have the ability to turn that around and do that work. If I think of myself, probably 20 years ago, so like mid-late 20s, and had all of those fears and doubts and all of that stuff. I have turned it around, but nobody else has done that for me. I've had to do it myself. You have to do that work. I think there's systemic things that make it that way, but it is within our gift to do something about it, right?
And there's that meme out there that sort of says something on the lines of, well, if a woman's pushy, then if she's confident, she's seen as pushy. And I'm like, well, do we care? I probably have been more than hated for being pushy and aggressive and in their faces and irritating. I don't particularly care. I need something done. That's it. This is my path. It needs doing right. And me asking you to do it, whether you like it or not. I mean, I once had someone turn around to go, you're a little bit emotional. And I was like, I will hang you up like a prosciutto ham if you ever say that to me again.
Yeah.
That's not on. You know what I mean? And so I didn't go home and go, oh, God, do you think I was a bit emotional? What did I think? Do you think I'll push too hard? I don't care. The answer is no. And say it again and you're going to get drop kicked into next week. That's it. You know what I mean?
And this is the thing. It's like, yes, it does come back. People do say that people do think that. But like, I'm going to quote Mel Robbins, let them do that. Because ultimately, unless we as women continue to take up space and, push back and that, it's not going to change.
They're not going to crumble. They're not going to sit there and go, oh, I'm not sure. Should I have pleased them more? Should I have been a bit nicer? They just move on. They might swear twice or punch him out and then move on, which is, I think, what we need to be practicing doing. And the thing is, it is practice. You fake it till you make it. Sometimes you feel a bit uncomfortable. You might be, in a situation which you're a bit nervous about. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Just fake it till you make it, if possible.
So your message, Ramona, is do it, take up space and own it and stop beating yourself up.
And stop thinking. Just stop thinking. Just move.
And just hearing that from someone like you, who is this sort of powerful woman who's just, done what you want to do, is really inspiring.
Well, thanks. I mean, I don't see it as that. You know what I mean? I just think I think we get more confident with age. We just stop, we stop caring that, we've got a few wrinkles. We stop caring that we've got a little bit of flab. We just stop caring. And I wish it on all 20-year-olds to have our brains. Can you imagine how much success they'd have? You know what I mean? So I think it's something that we need to start tackling in the young girls and just start empowering them to think differently and just get it out, and it is by showing them as well. You know what I mean? People like you and me are showing them that there is another way.
It can be done. Yeah.
And actually by being, inspiring, even me going, oh God, inspiring, that's like a bit self-deprecating, but we've got to inspire the next generation. Yeah. We just recorded an episode about Gen Z and, the narrative that they're lazy, they're this, they're that, the other. But actually, it's within our gift to help mould them into a better,
And we have to. We absolutely have to. We have to do it with our own kids. We have to start saying no. We have to start telling them they can't dress stupidly. We have to actually be parents. I think there is a bit of a problem with that now. And I think it's creating a bigger problem. And, when you haven't been told no at home, you get to a boss who goes, this works like crap, then they melt. And you're like, well, of course you melted because you've never been told that you're wrong. Yeah. So we have to change all these systems.
Yeah. And because there has been a shift in that. I was talking to someone the other day where, everything feels like it. And interesting, you're talking about, you can't go to netball matches. You've made that choice to work. And it's still really hard. Like when I can't go to something that, and they're much harder on me than they are on my husband. If he can't go, it's accepted. When I can't go, it's like, why can't you go? This is like a big drama.
Who the kids are harder.
Yeah, the kids. Yeah. But, I have to tell myself that life is about disappointments. Life is about things don't work, and you have to just pick yourself up and carry on.
And there is nothing I want more for my kids than for them not to be at their kids' netball matches. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy for the schools to say, oh, parents come, the teachers are working. They're not with their kids.
Yeah.
So why are we different? Do you know what I mean? Like,
especially when you get like 3 days notice. You're like, how is this possible?
No, we're doing a parents' evening. Can you come at 3:30? No.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Call me if there's a problem and if they're not going to go to university.
Yeah. Well, and there's changes to the system, isn't there? But what we're saying is taking responsibility for ourselves and for the next generation to change things.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing when we get our period or we get into menopause, whatever that, or pregnant, whatever that life cycle disaster is. It is. That's it. It is. As long as I think we keep in mind that no matter what our problems are, the job has to get done. Because I was the leader or the entrepreneur, so I didn't get the luxury of time off for pregnancies. If I had a hard period, it was tough shit, just unlucky for you, you know what I mean? You just had to get the job done. And I think we need to, whilst it doesn't have to be that extreme and having babies under the desks, but it's, the job has to get done. Businesses have to run with workers who work. And whilst we have to, as businesses, really take care of our people, and we have to get the job done. And I think that needs to be our mindset as well. I'm having some really uncomfortable cramps. I'm going to work from home a little bit so I can take some paracetamol and sit with a hot water bottle without feeling crappy about myself. But, this one's going to cover me in this meeting. And you get the job done. And then you help another person another time,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's allowing that flexibility, isn't it?
And it's what you were talking about. Actually, a business still needs to remain profitable. And I think we were at something where it was more of a mental health conversation, but the person was talking about, like, at what point is it the business's responsibility versus the personal responsibility? And I think there's a bit of that in here, isn't there? It's like, actually, we need to get the job done. You do need to be supportive of your staff, but actually, ultimately,
businesses have to run.
Yeah.
And I think that's a partnership, right? I don't think it's you have to do it like this. I think it's I'm having hot sweats because I've got menopause or whatever today's problem is. I better stay out of the office, but I've got someone to cover me. And the next time you still get the job done. I'll do it later when I'm feeling a bit better. It's that responsibility. We've got to take away these things as excuses. They happen, but we have to just take them away as an excuse not to work. We just need to find a way around it and be open about it. And I don't think any boss is going to turn around and go, oh, Christ, this is a disaster. They're not. They're going to say, well, it's getting done. It's not really on my head. Didn't really want to know about her period,
I think that's the difference now versus, say, 20 years ago, is that we can talk about, I think the ability to talk about it more openly makes it easier to just
100%.
ask for those adjustments and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's important. Very important.
Thank you, Ramona. Any last thoughts? Anything you want our listeners to know? They definitely need to know where to buy products as a starting point.
All the retailers, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Asda, and Costco as well.
Yeah.
Go and give them a try. They're delicious. We work hard on them, really, really hard. And it's not ever, ever as glamorous as it looks.
And if people want to get in touch with you, you're all over LinkedIn, aren't you?
Well, never mind that. My email address is on the back of every single pot of hummus.
There you go. So you have to go and buy the hummus to get her email address.
Or you can just write it down, and I promise you, it comes to me, and I answer every single one of them. So.
Oh wow! I love this.
It's a great one, actually. I do get some funny ones, really funny ones, but most of it is praise, which is always nice.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ramona. It's been a lovely chat.
Yeah, it's been really, really lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys, really, for having me.
Thanks. And we'll see everyone else next time.
See you next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, rate and review us. It really helps us reach more food industry pros like you.
For more resources, head over to our website, overfoodsake.co.uk, and join our mailing list to stay in touch.
And if you'd like to connect with us, come say hello on LinkedIn. We're both there, Lucy Wager and Amy Wilkinson.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.